Hi, welcome to Box on the Box, Rock and Celluloid, Bok for short. So, going to do another little album review today. Today is the 26th of February. So, yesterday the Scorpions released their 19th studio album, Rock Believer. Quite strange, really, them releasing it at this time, the day before Russia invaded Ukraine, and obviously the Scorpions song "Wind of Change" was a big kind of symbol of the fall of the Berlin Wall and the end of the Cold War. So that's quite kind of strange, I think. Just a quick recap. Scorpions obviously started with Lonesome Crow, kind of space rock, krautrock. Probably found their feet a bit more with Flight of the Rainbow, Uli John Roth joins, and then they have a classic period for me in Transversion Killer, Taken by Force, and then climaxing with Tokyo Tapes. Brilliant. Then the shift sound, Matthias Jabs joins, obviously Michael Schenker's a Love Drive album. Love Drive, one of the great hard rock albums. I describe Scorps as proto-metal, those Uli John Roth albums, but they kind of streamline the sound for Love Drive, go for a more hard rock, streamlined sound. Brilliant record. That's followed by Animal Magnetism, a real kind of fan favourite. Not as good as Love Drive, but still really cool. Then you got Blackout, another classic, one of the classics of '82, along with Screaming for Vengeance and Number of the Beast. And then Love at First Sting, their biggest selling album. A lot of people seem to go a bit down on Love at First Sting now, but there's a few filler tracks, but it's got 5 absolute belters. And in Still Loving You, probably the all-time classic sort of hard rock power ballad. Then have a big break, do Savage Amusement. Again, this tends to get knocked. It's not as good as Love at First Sting, it's not as good as Blackout. But it's still a good record. I'd still get a good 7 out of 10. I was happy with it at the time. By this point, the band's kind of started to fall into a pattern. They used to have a ballad finishing every album, pretty much apart from Animal Magnetism. From Taken by Force onward, a ballad finishes every album. Lady Starlight's the big ballad on Animal Magnetism. And most of the time these songs are excellent, but from Savage Amusement onwards, they start to do 2 ballads. And this was what happened on Crazy World. They did Wind of Change and Send Me an Angel. I couldn't get away with the Crazy World album. I've tried to. I bought it at the time. And I've kind of gone back to it, but it's always been a 5, 6 out of 10 for me. I love the track Don't Believe It, and I've grown to really like Wind of Change. After that, the band, they have a big selling record, obviously, but then they do the Face the Heat album, which has got 3 really corking tracks, but the rest isn't very good. Then the Pure Instinct and Eye to Eye albums just aren't worth bothering with. And then they have a big break. 5 years to come out of Unbreakable. I think this is a really solid record. I'd give it probably pushing an 8 out of 10. Quite a raw production. It's probably got 5 or 6 really corking tracks, but all the other tracks are good. It's an album that has good fillers. Probably too many tracks, 13, but that was a kind of symbolic record. A lot of bands, heritage bands, started realising they were heritage bands, basically, in that era. Saxon, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, and started getting the sound and doing the albums that fans wanted to hit Dio. Then did Humanity Hour 1. Obviously, this is a bit controversial, tends to get slagged. I actually think some of the songs on this are stronger than Unbreakable. It's not as consistent. But I still think it's a good record. It's a shame they didn't have the proper branding on. There's this kind of silly concept which I think overshadows stuff. But also at this point, they're starting to use outside writers. It started with Crazy World, but Unbreakable and Humanity, Desmond Child co-writes on that. And then they team up with the production team. I forget the name of the guys, and they do 2 albums, Sting in the Tail and Return to Forever. Now, Sting in the Tail got really great reviews. I was disappointed with it. It kind of cost some splitters to a 6 out of 10. I actually really like the ballads on this album. They're some of the stronger tracks, but there's too many of them. There's 4. And then the Return to Forever album's strange. They rework some old tracks. If you got the deluxe edition, you got 16 tracks. If you got the tour edition, it was 19. One thing you can't complain about is when the Scorpions do new stuff, they give you plenty of tracks. I worked out before with all the bonus tracks they've done, and on compilations they've even done, and live things even done new tracks. They've probably done enough for like kind of 8 albums, 10-track albums or something. So, even though they've only released 5. In the sort of period with Unbreakable. But I thought this was just kind of lightweight. I was listening to it again leading up to this review, and it's quite poppy. It's there's kind of elements in it where you can feel like other hands in the kind of mix of the sound, and again sort of 5 out of 10. Just not really any bad tracks as such. There was an awful song called The Scratch, but just not great. So it brings us to Rock Believer. So when they released the first track, Peacemaker, I like the harmony guitar, and I quite liked it. It was rocking. but the track didn't totally grab me. And I've got to say the same thing happened with the track Rock Believer. They're okay tracks. And then they shared the track Shining on Your Soul, I think. Was it Seventh Son? They shared Seventh Son again. Little ploddy, quite liked it. And then they shared Shining on Your Soul. And it's obvious they're going for a Love Drive, Is There Anybody There type of sound. But I really love the track. So I was like, you know. So I haven't actually bought the album yet. I've just been listening on YouTube. I'm going to buy it. So I'm up to 5 listens. I can honestly say it's certainly much better than the last 2 albums. And I think people, if you didn't like Humanity, but you say you like Unbreakable, you're going to like this album. A lot of people are saying this is their best album since Blackout. I would say, it's shaping up on initial listens to certainly be the best since Unbreakable. And I put Unbreakable equal with those classic albums. Maybe it's not as good as Savage Amusement, I don't know, but I'm liking it. So the first thing you notice on this album, it's got a kind of raw production. What happened, the band was going to go out to LA to record, and then the pandemic happened. Whether they were going to team up with the previous 2 Swedish guys, I don't know. So they've gone to Hanover, they've basically bubbled in the studio, and just with Mickey D, the new drummer on drums, Motorhead. Great that he's got a top gig. He's a great drummer, and it feels like he's been there all the time. And they've obviously just sat and just written songs and recorded and demoed and just put together the album. So it's weird, like they've been threatening to quit for ages, and the last album opened with them going out with a bang. Now they've got gas in the tank. This is the opening track. This doesn't disappoint. It's a fun rocker. It's got that kind of up tempo. I would say actually some of the kind of, even though I don't like the Crazy World album, some of the kind of up tempo rockers on this are kind of like the Crazy World. Those type of tracks on that album, like Tease Me, Please Me, but I don't know, because it's a bit rawer and it's coming out at the time it just feels better. So yeah, it's really good. They've made a hard rock album. There's no kind of pop elements with this. It's the Scorpions on hard rock mode. Actually opens with some crazy whammies. This 3 minutes 41 seconds, 3 minutes 40, really good. Very good track. Then you got Roots in My Boots, quite an interesting chorus on this. Not as good as the first track, but I do like it. Matthias Jabs has brought back his kind of pinch harmonics. If you're a fan of his guitar playing, he used to do those really spiky harmonics, and he kind of weaned them out of his playing a bit, so that's good to hear. I have to say on this, there's a harmony on it. Matthias bends out of tune quite badly, which I find a little frustrating, because, he's got sweet bends. His solos are quite dry, and it'd be nice to have him with a little more effect, because, he can really make the notes sing. But I've got to say, this is his best playing, in spite of that, since the certainly Savage Amusement, maybe Crazy World album. He's kind of pulling a bit of form here. Next up's Knock 'Em Dead. This is really catchy. Kind of got a riff a bit like Don't Believe Her. I'm quoting Crazy World again, which I don't like, I know. But this is it's good. Really catchy, kind of like Arizona as well. That's the other thing, this album, that's obviously the Blackout album, it kind of touches base with some of those classic sounds throughout the career, and we'll see more of that. So, 2 really corking opening tracks, with the tracks 1 and 3, tracks 2's really good. And then Rock Believer comes in, and now it kind of sits better. Now I'm hearing it in the context of the album, it's kind of more like a 6 out of 10 tracks, a really catchy chorus. 3 minutes 57. These songs, 3:40, 3:74, 11, 3:57, it's all short and to the point. Really good. Then you've got Shining on Your Soul. I think this is the real standout cut here. So it's obvious that they're kind of touching base with Is There Anybody There from Love Drive. But it's got a different sound. It's got a really nice gothic guitar melody, which kind of recalls like the early John Roth era, something like Walk in Your Park or that kind of thing with the octaves. It's really nice. I love Klaus's vocal on this. I love the groove. It just feels really organic, and it feels quite epic. And it's only 3 minutes 57. Gotta say, Klaus's lyrics are better on this. What I feel on this album is the band. Klaus, he's not the singer he was. Remarkably, this was recorded 2020, 2021. So Klaus would be 72. Now you can't expect him to, hit those wild screams of Virgin Killer, or those big massive notes on Still Loving You and stuff like those kind of notes. But he's getting through well considering his age. He's maybe not holding up as well as say Biff Byford of Saxon, who's a similar age. But he's kind of like Rob Halford. He's going into a more mid-range. But I think he's been more careful with the lyrics and the band. The kind of, it just feels there's something more organic, and they're all in there kind of helping each other, you know, with what they've got to do, you know, because no one's getting any younger. Rudy's 70, well, he's 74 this year. Matthias is 66. Powell, the bass player, who seems like a new member, has been there 20 years nearly. He's 55. And then Mickey D's over 60, so great. So this Shining Your Soul's great. Then you've got the Seventh Son. This is like China White or Animal Magnetism. It's got the transition to the Eastern sort of Frisian dominant mode on the bridge, pardon me. It's got a dum heavy thing. Some cool guitars on this, some classic sort of Scorpions high sort of trebly down. It's a little ploddy, but I do like it. I think this is the longest track on the album, 5 minutes 30. But it's a kind of 6 out of 10 track. I still like it. They've gone Hot and Cold. This is catchy, got a really catchy chorus, quite strange chords on the bridge, and that's interesting, you know, that the Scorpions are kind of doing that. You know, they're not doing the usual things that they've been doing in the past. This is 4 minutes 13. So again, 6 out of 10 track. Then you got When I Lay My Bones to Rest. This is kind of more of a party track, 3 minutes and 7. Maybe not as keen on this one, but it's still pretty catchy. And then it comes up to Peacemaker, and again, hearing in the context of the album, it makes more sense with the raw production, harmony guitars. Again, this is 2 minutes 56. Again, I'll just give this track a 6 out of 10, but the 6 out of 10 tracks are good, you know, the good solid tracks. And then track number 10 is Call of the Wild. This is the second longest track on the album. This is really good. Kind of like a cool kind of Mixolydian vibe. Again, not totally a sound you've heard from the Scorpions before. Doubles up at the end. Great outro solo by Matthias. You know, good. The drum sound, this is kind of like more like the whole album is more like the Unbreakable. It's a little rawer. It's not as polished, and it doesn't have the kind of heavy, loud mastering of Sting in the Tail. So it's very organic. And then it finishes the sort of traditional album, the single CD. We'll come to it because it's got a bonus version, with the only ballad. Now this is interesting because the Scorpions, you know, just done. Like, I can't remember how many sort of ballady type tracks Return to Forever had on, but they just do one ballad here, and the album really benefits from it because those Scorpions ballads that finished albums were always really good tracks. If you actually go through, even Believe in Love off Savage and Mutant's a great track. It's really nice when you know where you're going from. Watch the video for this. It's really poignant. You know, it's got a lovely video of the band playing and just got them looking to camera. And there's that thing with the age that, you know, you're always worried, is this the last time? But I really like it. A nice Rudy guitar solo on this. Rudy, again, doing the tradition, like the Smoke is Going Down. And other tracks where on the ballad Still Loving You, where he, you know, often took the solo. So I would say that in the sort of 11, if you bought the 11 track album, my feeling is it's a kind of 7.5 out of 10. It might go to an 8, it might go down to 7. It's difficult when you first hear an album, because you can feel euphoric, but later on, I mean, I used to think, what's it called? Humanity was kind of like a 9 out of 10, 8.5, because I was like obsessed with it for a time. Listening to it now, I'm not as fussed as many tracks. But this is, it's good, this is fun, this is a fun album. It's like the Saxon album that was released recently. It's an album, you know, we need. So basically, if you buy the deluxe edition, you get 5 extra tracks. And sometimes I can be like, ugh. And I read a review that said, oh, don't bother getting this. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll just get the 11 track one. But listening to the tracks, get the deluxe version. Recently, Udo Dirkschneider released his album, I forget the title of it, but that's got 16 tracks on. But it's really good. There's probably like 2 kind of tracks I could do without. The Scorps are really knocked out of the park here. Klaus Meine writes the whole of Shoot for Your Heart. This is a really catchy track. You know, this could go on the main album and maybe supplant something else. When I first heard it, I was like, yeah, a bit throwaway, but in actual fact, it gets under your skin. It rocks along. It's a really really catchy track, really like it. And then the next track, this is Rudy Schenker, When Tomorrow Comes. And this has got a kind of Phrygian type riff that you would hear in the Uli John Roth era. And Klaus is doing a kind of spoken word thing. He's kind of doing a sort of rant about the state of the world. It's actually really funny, quite witty, and Klaus's kind of spoken voice works really well. He's got delay on. Got a cool chorus. It starts off with the bass, Powell. That's really cool. It's even got R's in it. At the back, and that's kind of going back to Lonesome Crow if you're going mad or something, or certainly Flight of the Rainbow. So that's really interesting. This is kind of a song that kind of has little kind of elements of all those years ago. I really like it. Some people might not like it. It's kind of experimental, but 3 minutes 47, so I found a lot of fun. The next track, Unleashed in the Beast. Initially, I didn't like this, and this has got a spoken word verse, so again, it feels a little similar to what happened on the previous track, but it's got a really interesting chorus, a kind of chorus that I haven't done before. Like I say, I kind of like it. It maybe doesn't need it, but, it's cool. Next one's quite interesting. The lyrics are written by Klaus Mann and Matthias Jabs, and Jabs writes the music, and this, along with Hot and Cold, is the only music Matthias writes on his own. This is a really good track. It's kind of bluesy. Matthias plays great guitar on this. I think, he does a cool neck pickup solo at the end. This is good. It's got a really strong chorus. Good track. I really like it. And then it's only 3 minutes 38, and then it finishes with an acoustic version of When You Know Where You Come From. Sorry, that's what the title of the song's called. So you've got two versions of, the original disc finishes with the ballad, and so there's the bonus disc. And it's quite a nice arrangement. You can hear different chord changing and hear how the song's evolved. Maybe they could have put another track on this. Bonus track on the Japanese edition is Out of the Lights, and UK bonus track edition is Hammersmith, and that's co-written by Mickey D with Rudy. But I've tried finding those tracks, but I can't as yet. So overall, again, if you bought the 16-track disc, it kind of maybe pushing an 8 more. It kind of feels like, these tracks really are worth having. Great creativity from the band. So I'm just looking at some notes here. Mickey D plays it straight, the way he looks in the context of the band, it kind of feels like he's been there a long time. I love James Carter's showmanship, but Mickey D being a European feels like that's right to me. I think Paul Messendoa is Polish. So that's cool. Matthias, like I say, is pulling out the pinch harmonics. Rudy's riffing. There's quite rawness. Sometimes the end of songs have got a little bit of handling noise and stuff like that. I think a lot of this has been played live in the studio, and then they'll get a performance together. Maybe they've cut together takes. And although it's not as polished, the sort of vibe of the album benefits from that. Klaus, he's finding his way into his older years. He's singing in a lower register, but he's still hitting sweet notes, doing some nice harmonies. The guy's still, one of the all-time great hard rock singers for me. I know some people don't like him, but I love him. I'm really enjoying this album. So, check it out. Go for it. Get yourself, Scorpions. I'm a rock believer! I am, yes. Awesome. Thank you very much. See you soon.